Hey folks, that was Axion Ghost, and that was his song, Inside Enemy Headquarters. Excuse me, wow, tongue-tied this morning, or this afternoon. Today I got a special treat. Who knows what kind of things we're going to delve into, but me and him have done several shows. He's a local man. I've known him for a lot of times. Welcome to Kaiser's Castle. Sit back on my big orange couch, grab yourself your nice coffee, tea, soda, or adult libation, and get ready to listen up to Dano. Lord knows where this conversation's going to go, but it's going to go somewhere with Dano. Dano, how you doing, brother?
Oh, brother, I'm doing well. Man, this has been a long time coming. We both have been on opposite ends of the spectrum. It's just absolutely out of control, isn't it?
It has been a little unique, that's for sure. It's been kind of funny too, but we were able to talk off air, but not on air. So this has been I think you've even been on some Kaiser's Castle's programs.
Oh yeah, I have before. Yeah, we did quite a few of those, and then everything kind of got wonky. So this is a good time. We started talking the other day, and we were like, hey, you know what? We need to save this and have a sit down and kind of discuss things a little bit. And you know, it's all very different, but unfortunately we have some folks playing really bad games with our country right now.
And I know that, and you know that, and that's the big thing. I've told everybody it was about the panic, and it still is. I mean, I don't think any of the grocery stores will ever fully have stocked shelves for about 6 months after this shit's over, just because people just out of habit are going to be hoarding shit. It's absolutely ridiculous. When you come to my town, not you, but when somebody comes from my town, right, from Columbus or Franklin County or Clark County to shop, you know, because their stuff's wiped out, and you go into your own local grocery or your own local Walmart, and most of the plates out there are not in your county. It's kind of interesting when we're supposed to be social segregating or social distancing, you know. But also Americans, here's the thing I do love about America. We're individuals. We're going to do what the fuck we want. And I can't complain about that, but I can say, you know, I've never said this was a fake thing, but what I did say is it's a real thing. It's a flu with some spice, but the panic, the way the media has propagated it, the way the Democrats have, Trump's been about the only even kill person on this. But, you know, I mean, this is just a fact of life. It got out. We can talk about, I guess, where I think it started or where you think it started. We both agree, probably in the same area, Wuhan.
Oh yeah,
Just maybe not the wet markets. I think it was.
I know.
I made a post on it. I said whether it was
Hmm.
accidental or purposeful, it ends up still
Hmm.
being bioterrorism de facto because an accidental
Hmm.
release, if it was legit, they would have told us as soon as it would happen, as it happened, told us what was going on, and cooperation would have
Hmm.
had instead of having WHO, World Health Organization obfuscate it, and then also denying and trying to say their numbers aren't as high as they are on their desks, saying we've now, and they're also spilling that we started it, we did it, which is
Right.
bullshit. We know that
Right.
we've actually indicted people who are helping them in chemistry from like Harvard and North Carolina,
Hmm.
University of North Carolina. So I mean, there's some
Right.
factoids there, and if it was purposeful, it was damn bioterror, and because of that, uh, they knew they were going to get fucked economically because nobody would want to do business, and I think they're going to suffer for this for a while, but they created eco terror in the whole globe, and this is how
Right.
world wars start, brother. Your take?
Right. Absolutely. So this is what I'm going to tell you. It did not start in the wet markets. This was an intentional. This was an intentional act. Anyone that knows anything about China's obsession, shall we just call it, much like Hitler um, had an obsession to dominate the world. That was their end goal. That's what they've always wanted to do. It's not been hidden. And anyone who's a student of the Orient, and I'm going to say the Orient because the Orient's vastly larger than what a lot of people understand. Um, Japan at one point in time, they had the same vision, hence World War II, as what China had. So this is all one big mess. Um, the the Chinese definitely don't want the Japanese to get a leg up and start to become aggressive with this because they will definitely lose. The Japanese, per our experiences during the Second World War, they're a very formidable foe. They're extremely proficient at killing, and their technology and their tactics is bar none one of the greatest. And I know from having been fleet side from Pearl Harbor, um, we train with them much more regularly than what the news or Mike Pompeo or SecNav will ever openly acknowledge that it takes place, because the training just does not take place once a year. They have a thing called RIMPAC. Basically, what it is everyone from all around the world, they come to Pearl Harbor and they train for like it's like 5 or 6 weeks. I know it's a hell of a long time. I remember when
Yeah,
we
I
did
did.
it, we were for a very long time.
I did a rim pack in 19 it was before the Gulf War, 1989, and we went from Pearl. We all met up there, all the different
Hmm.
vessels, and we were on Ford Island. I was on the USS Denver as a Marine,
Uh-huh.
and we went around the rim of the Pacific. That's why it's called Rim Pack,
Hmm.
Rim of the
Yep.
Pacific, and you go around the entire rim. And you know, you get shell backed. I mean, a lot of these terms people won't know, but you know what I'm
Right.
talking about, being a Navy guy. So,
Right.
anyways, the whole point of it is that this is manufactured either way. We both understand this.
Right.
Um, so go on and talk, dude. I didn't mean to
Uh,
jump in.
No, no, it's okay. This is how we roll. So, um, the bigger part of the problem, though, is that the Chinese knew mid-December what was going on. They were not forthcoming. I remember that the news about this was on one of the local legacy um, companies here in town that has done nothing to bear mention of their call letters, but anyone here in the Central Ohio area knows exactly who I'm talking about. It popped up on one of the morning feature spots that they use, and they then said that this had happened that there was multiple people infected. They did not say anything about anyone who had passed. Now, the really interesting thing about this is that John Hopkins was able to track, John Hopkins University. So this is what I am going to tell everyone. If you really want to know what is going on with this, you need to go do a Google search for John Hopkins COVID. It'll pop up. It's going to throw up a world map. It's going to have all the information that you need to know, and it's going to break everything down for you. One of the things that John Hopkins did was the initial release of people from Wuhan was 40,000 people. That was the initial release. On the very first day that they flew out, I think they've had like 378. They've had almost 500,000 people leave Wuhan now, which has made this a world pandemic, has made this the issue that it is.
Yep.
So this was not an accident. This wasn't someone taking home a bad sample. This wasn't someone eating a bad. Although, having been to the Philippines and places like that, in Singapore, there are open markets that you can get this stuff. And those of us, that have been there, done that, so to speak, we always knew what to look for. We always knew there was different signs that were put out, particularly in the Philippines. There at Subic, there were always signs that the vendors had to have out. I was there when Marcos was in power. And that was, people have no idea how bad Marcos was for the Philippines. He did no one any favors. He and Imelda, with her the shoe collection, went ahead, and they were no better than what Yasser Arafat was.
Didn't she have like 200,000 different pairs of shoes or some shit? I know it was some crazy ass number.
Oh yeah, it was absolutely huge. But they used to, every now and then, they would arrest someone that would leave Subic, go into town, and then they would target someone and they would say, "Oh, you had pot on you, and so you're going to get a 5 to 10 years hard time." And there's this hard time, and for no one that's ever been, if you've never been to the Philippines, that is a true third world country. It really is. It's very, very stark. They do not have warm running water, except for the very, very few privileged people there that are very high up within the society. Most generally, as a rule of thumb, if you were to look at a square and put a 2-room concrete hut on each corner of the square, that would be a typical home. In the center of that square, you're going to have a latrine, is what it is. One for male, one for female. It's like the old roadside stops that the state of Ohio used to have before they went to managing it on a more first world basis. And this is when I was a kid that this was. But that's where those particular 4 huts, concrete buildings, livable homes, that's where they get their water. That's where they go to the bathroom. That's where they take their showers. And there is no warm water. So when you got up in the morning and you'd had your night on the town and you went out to do your thing, if you were going to take a shower, brother, it was going to be really crazy cold, and you were pretty efficient. So you found out that those 30-second showers that they made you take in boot camp, you made it about 15. And trust me, you were very proficient after a couple of nights of that. But the larger part of the problem here is that this was not an accident. This was intentional. It was very intentional. You and I called this from the very beginning when we were messaging back and forth when this all started. Definitely, because that is, I think it's the only, and you can back me up and you can tell me yay, nay, or indifferent, but I do believe that is the only location in all of China that has that high level of a bioweapons lab that they actively use. So
yeah, they call it a research facility, but it's a level 4 containment center. for
Yeah.
bioweapons. There's a couple others. I've heard that said that there's only one in China. No, there's a couple others, just like we do.
Hmm.
You know, we have Plum Island and a veritable, uh, you know, for bioweapons research. So a lot of the colleges, believe it or not,
Hmm.
do that. It just depends, but they're all level 4 bioweapons research centers. The only thing is, like, it's so funny how I look at it. It is the Chinese Wuhan virus, just like the German flu,
Hmm.
just like the Spanish flu. You know,
Right.
all this stuff is just named from where it came from.
Right.
And this whole bullshit that it's racist, it's absolutely retarded. Um, yes, the virus's name is COVID-19, and it's not typical. That's why they call it a novel virus.
Right.
And that means there has been something done to it. Now, I've had talks with my brother Georgios, you know him,
Right.
and he disagrees. He thinks that naturally it can happen, but he's the only one I've ever heard say that. And he will get his doctorate in microbiology soon, but he's not a microbiologist doctor yet. So, you know,
Right.
he can be wrong, I can be wrong, you can be wrong. But it's better to
Right.
be wrong and safe than
Hmm.
right, you know,
Hmm.
and not being as safe or whatever. But the whole point that I see is the panic. This is the greater thing, and what I've been talking about.
Right.
The
Well,
panic and the willingness that Americans are doing right now by sheltering in
right.
place, social distancing. This is all about control. And
Right.
I think who's using this, the media's propping it up, but I believe that the communists they have infiltrated every level of our government.
Right.
And I think this is their play. I mean, look at how many trillions of dollars did Trump sign in? He signed it in, and I'm not going to
Hmm.
hate on him for that because this is something we've never had. But
Right.
we're going to either have a global depression or a global recession if we're lucky. And if it goes global depression, that's how fucking world wars start. And that's my
Hmm.
concern.
I don't think that that is going to be the case in this situation. The interrupter, a lot of, you know, you know, I don't like everything Trump does, and I'm going to be the first one to tell you this. I remember when he had his first rally here in Columbus, and we walked out and we left, and we both were looking at different people, and I was like, oh wow, holy cow, that's rough. Because if that's how he's going to run, you know, the Oval Office, there's going to be a shit stain on that all over the place. So I mean, it was very, it's a very different situation. However, this is what I can tell you: he's an interrupter, and there's nothing more than the New World Order hates is an interrupter, because that means that their plans are derailed. That's exactly what that means, and that's exactly what he's doing. Now, we have our own issues to deal with here. A lot of people don't know that COVID, this is the 19th strain of COVID. That's why they have the numbers, and that's why it
Right.
increases. So COVID as a strain started in China just 19 strains ago. So that is what a lot of people are missing. Of course, as always, you know, the press has to further the drama, make everyone freak out. They run down the hall. Oh my God, we're all going to die. Well, no, not really. You're not all going to die, because if you just simply wash your hands, it will cut this off at the pass. Your ability to do what your mother told you to freaking do, wash your damn hands. They taught it to your mom taught it to you. They taught it to you in preschool, kindergarten, all the way up to the time that you graduated, and even in the military. I would hate to I would hate to see what would happen in the military if no one ever washed their hands. Nothing would ever get done. It would stop the entire
Yeah,
organization.
it would. Everybody would be passing stuff to and
Ugh.
fro. My whole thing on this is that I do think that this when the globalists, if they get bankrupted, which is what will happen if we have a depression, when they get hit, the way to reset their books and it's a global war. That's World War One, World War Two, prime examples. Uh,
Mhm.
Vietnam, we had a recession at a point, and that was military-industrial complex. Um,
Mhm.
all these different times you can see when wars start, how they start, and it's just kind of interesting. Just thinking about it in my lifetime, but this is the first time I think in America's history I put up a thing on martial law. We're not at
Mhm.
martial law, folks. A lot of people think
Oh gosh, no,
it's a
nowhere near it.
cartoon. The one I put up is a cartoon on YouTube. You
Mhm.
can look it up, what martial law looks like, and it's a
Mhm.
cartoon. I can't remember who put it in there, but it's actually very informative and
Right.
explains how it can happen. And so, if that is the case, and this becomes martial law, that makes the globalists even more uneasy because that basically voids out Congress and the Senate at
Mhm.
that point. And they talk about how the Supreme Court has ruled that still you get all your civil rights, but not
Mhm.
instantly. It's
Mhm.
sort of like Americans going to, like Johnny Walker Lynn gets
Mhm.
put in Guantanamo Bay, but then he's
Mhm.
eventually going to have to see an actual courthouse, and then he gets put in
Mhm.
prison, and then we all know what happened after that. So, but we're talking with martial law, the military, they will use law enforcement because law enforcement's local, but the military at that point, and I've talked about it, I think, with you before. On, I've told everybody, look at how cities are designed. You have your highway that goes dissects it. You have your highway that rings it. Sometimes you have an outer belt, an inner and an outer belt that goes around the city. And what do you think that's for? It's so that they can shut off flow to a city.
Mhm.
And so, I mean, it's interesting. New York's not doing itself any favors
Oh
with
gosh,
some of
no.
the stuff they're doing. I mean, they're about to, I think, civil unrest in New York and other places that are big is highly likely. And you can't blame the cops because, heck, what New York City's got 1/3 of their cops off because of this.
Mhm. Yeah, they do, and the fire departments know better. But the larger part of the problem of what we're seeing here in the grand scheme of things is that the modeling is now the real time numbers are not matching up to the modeling. Here in the state of Ohio, we have a governor by the name of I call him Kasich. His name is Mike DeWine, but I call him Kasich because everything he's done has been nothing more than a furtherance of what Kasich failed to do. And my wife, for the life of me, she's like, "Oh my God, he's a hero. You don't understand. He's so smart." And I'm like, "No, he's a schmuck. He's a putz. He's everything bad. We elected a freaking Democrat is what we elected." And for those of you who don't know, he wants red flag laws. There are certain pieces of legislation like constitutional carry that will not move forward until his illegal, unconstitutional red flag law passes, which voids any type of due process to you. You have to prove, they don't have to prove. And the
Right.
same thing with stand your ground. Stand your ground, you have to prove that you're wrong. If you conceal carry in this state and you have a permit, you better have insurance because it's going to get expensive and it's going to get expensive fast. But even in the White House, President Trump is starting to question the modeling. And the modeling is definitely wrong. It's no way, shape, or form on the curve. They want to talk about flattening. They want to go ahead and they want to flatten. But when you go to coronavirus Ohio, coronavirus.ohio.gov, nowhere, shape, or form, nowhere at all does it show how many people that they've tested. You can even go ahead and take a look at the number of deaths of the total. So we'll go ahead and we'll do something here real quick. So we don't know how many people that they've tested. That's the unfortunate part. What I can tell you is this: as of now, as I'm sitting here at wow, boy, it's late. We've been talking already. About quarter after six. 1817 for you military folks, but for those of you that didn't go through and get your stamp of approval, it's 17 after 6. But this is what I can tell you. In Ohio, they currently have 4,043 confirmed cases. They have 346 in ICU, 1,104 hospitalization, and 119 deaths. Now, so I'm going to tell you something. I'm looking at this, and the 119, I'm just doing some Jewish fast math here. It's lucky to hit 1%. The R value in this was rated between 1 to 2%. So you can correct me if my math is wrong. It doesn't matter to me. But the problem is, though, is that they do not, in Dr. Amy Acton, which is an Obama holdover, does not want to discuss, nor will they allow anyone to see how many people that they've tested. Because if you take the true test, which has probably been something like 40,000 more than likely, and it's probably even more than that, but they won't, but they're not forthcoming. The president has been very clear about this. Hey, you have to give us your numbers. We have to see where you're at with this. We have to better understand what you're doing in the grand scheme of things, because that helps with the modeling. So
now I want to interject something. Here's something about the deaths. I'll interject on two separate points. First, the one that was just touched on, the deaths. I know for a fact in several places, deaths, if you come in a heart attack, you have COPD, something like that, you die, some major thing happens, and they can attribute it to coronavirus. They just mark it as that. They don't do a test after you're dead. They're not testing people after they're dead. So they just attribute that.
No, they're not.
So that sexes up the numbers. And then I have to go back to DeWine. I have respect for DeWine for one reason, and I've talked about it with you offline, so this is the reason. I'm going to be very honest with the public. I like Mike DeWine. When I was over in the first Gulf War, he was a state senator, and he sent me a flag that flew over the State House, and I still have it to this day, and actually brought it to my mother to send to me, and him and his wife both showed up, and so I disagree with him on his red flag laws and some other things, and I hate that he's using that, but I think he has poor advisors. He's actually not at Kasich level, and he's definitely not at what was that one moron we had that gave us the soda pop tax? We never had that before. What was that dude's name? He's dead now.
Voinovich?
Voinovich. Yeah, he's no Voinovich, and he's no Kasich, and he's definitely no Voinovich, and the only Kasich thing he's got is he just is listening to the wrong people. But that's a Republican Party thing. That's not him.
Right.
So, but you're welcome to your own beliefs and thoughts on that, brother, as you know. But I just can't be as hard on him as I would Voinovich or Kasich.
I just, years ago, and I don't know if you were home for this or not, when George Voinovich was going to run, there was a guy that used to manage the fair. He was a real estate developer from up near Sandusky. His name was Billy Inman.
Yeah, Billy. Yeah, I remember when he was running for governor.
Well, remember when Billy camped down at the State House in his tent and stuff?
Yep. To debate.
Yeah. Well, I was down there with Billy. I went down and visited Billy a few times. And Billy told me, he said, we have to change. We have to change how this process works and everything that happens with it, because we're putting a ruling class into order here that will never relinquish their grip on anything, and it's going to be disastrous for the state. The troopers would later basically, he said something, and they arrested him for having a 38. Now, out of this, a little 5-shot 38 if you go downtown, I don't care who you are, take something with you. You can take a ball bat, you can take whatever it is you want to carry, but don't go down there empty-handed. Take an umbrella. An umbrella works well too, and you know exactly what I'm talking
Yes,
about
I
there.
do.
Yes, sir. The good old umbrella. But Billy Emmon, back in the day, he warned. He warned that this was going to happen, and it was something that the press just crowed about, and they were just like, oh, yeah, no, there's Billy, Billy off his rocker, but Billy can't, keep the state fair on budget kind of routine. And Billy was really a good guy. Billy had the crystal ball, and he had him exactly dead to rights, and that hated Billy so.
Well,
Voinovich absolutely hated him to no end.
Well, you couldn't look. You didn't need a crystal ball. I think it was after Bush's 1,000 points of light speech when I realized that the Republican Party and the Democrat Party are just two heads of the same snake body. They'll both feed off the same things, and they're feeding the same body, which is globalist. It's a I don't even like to call it globalist. I like the terminology of what they really are. The communist body. The Republicans will walk to socialism, and the Democrats will run to communism. And they've put it on speed dial. And the reason why I bring that back up is what we were touching on earlier on the economic terrorism. This is all Cloward and Pivot. Overload the system and make it collapse, and then replace it with something new. And that's communism. And, socialism is just a step towards communist. People forget. They love to talk this, that, and the other. But the German flag of Second World War, the reason why it had a red all around that white circle with the little bent cross is because that was a head tip to the Soviet Union, saying, hey, we're one of you. We're just like you. We're just nationalists. We're not globalists. We're not looking to spread global communism. And this, I think, is the culmination of global communism being spread, except for from the yellow, quote-unquote, terror. You know what I mean? From back in Korean War.
Well, this is the Rothschilds realizing that they are merely a keystroke away from accomplishing their goal. And I'm not saying that Hitler was good with a lot of the things that he did, but people laughed at him when he said we have to stop the Rothschilds because their goal is to take over the world. I'm not going to condone.
Well, you can't condone it. You're Jewish. People don't know that about you. But you're also a thinking Jewish man. And the thing is, he was still a National Socialist. He was a socialist, which is a communist. It's just 1 inch back. And instead of taking care of the world or being globalist in that manner, he was trying to take care of his own people, quote unquote. So 10 1 half dozen the other. Socialist and communist always kill masses of people.
Oh yeah, I mean, look at the Khmer Rouge. I mean, that was just absolutely brutal. They destroyed an entire culture that will never be returned ever. Same thing in Vietnam. I just, the normalization of relations with Vietnam was one of the hardest things for me to accept. It really was. And really, honestly, it still is. Here's the larger issue, though, and a lot of people do not see this. Right now, the Chinese are taking a dump in their drawers. They're taking a dump in their drawers because people want to go ahead and decouple from them. They want to go ahead and they want to start working with Bangladesh, Vietnam, India. They want to go to these third world countries and bring them into the first and bring them in to modernization. They want to bring them into 2020. That's the goal. That's what they want to do. And the Chinese know that their goose, literally, or their duck, however it is, or monkey, whatever it is that you would like to phrase it, they know that they're cooked. They're done. because India is a huge, huge financial power that is just beginning to awaken. And one of the things that they don't like, that I think it was the prime minister or whoever that was, or the president of India, he likes Donald Trump. He likes Donald Trump a lot. Want to do things more on a bigger manufacturing economic level than what they're doing right now. The reason that the New World Order and the Rothschilds hate President Trump is because before he was even elected, he already had relationships with all of these people, all of them. He knew exactly. He knew the players. He knew their weaknesses and what their issues were that would be a deficiency to him if he was to engage them, which is why he really wanted nothing to do if he didn't have to with the Ukrainians. But when they got the new leadership there, he wanted that. He wanted an investigation. You know, Mitt Romney, Mittens, you know, he absolutely is terrified that if Joe Biden is and his son Hunter is investigated, he and one of his close advisors are going to end up being linked to Ukraine, and it's going to cook his goose as well. Because I know someone who used to trade, and I don't know if he's still doing it or not, but he used to tell me, he said, we make hand over hand trading currency with the Chinese in the middle of the night while you're all asleep. Always.
Oh yeah, that's the whole thing, and they manipulate the yuan. I mean, that's a known thing.
Yeah. So while we would all sleep, Romney and his financial advisors, they would go ahead and they would trade on the Chinese and the Oriental stock markets and in Hong Kong, and they were making hand over hand. Now they're under the microscope. Now they have to really be careful, because one of the reasons that this all came about and that they unleashed this, because the Chi-Coms knew that they had to tamp down the democracy protests that were going on in Hong Kong. I've been to Hong Kong.
Exactly.
And they had to stop it. They had to cut it off at the pass, because Trump was recognizing them and the president was telling them, you have to honor in that culture is huge. It's something that our generations here in America lost years ago. They have no honor. And I hate to tell people this. If you think that our generations have honor, you're full of shit. You really are. You have zero clue of what you're talking about. And a lot of the kids that come from the Orient, and they come from that Chinese or Vietnamese or any of those cultures, even American Samoa, they honor their ancestors. They honor their elders. They do not play these stupid games as our kids do here. Riot in the street and wear a black mask. If they were to do that and anywhere else, they wouldn't even be able to come home, because they would meet a grisly fate that most people aren't even aware of that they would meet. So the Chi-Coms released this because they had to stop what was going on in Hong Kong, because they don't need Taiwan 2.0, which is what Hong Kong was going to turn into.
Oh, it still will. I think they're more afraid because they built that nice big bridge. I think they're more afraid that the Chinese people, because a lot of Chinese people that I know, several of them, they're using VPNs. They're still getting on all the different sites that we do. They're not as unclued in, but they're also not as spoiled as our kids. So they don't take it for granted. And a youth revolutionary, it's the first time I've ever seen, not even when they were protesting in Tiananmen Square do I remember seeing anything but the youth out in the streets. In Hong Kong, you had the old people out with the young people. And so there was total unity. And,
absolutely.
And if that gets back to the Chinese, and I think it might be sparking now because of this virus, and I'll tell you why I say this. I saw footage where they had opened up Wuhan and they were
Mm-hmm.
going to allow people to travel to this neighboring city were like turning over buses and fighting against the police were fighting Chinese police were fighting against Chinese police with the
Mm-hmm.
people to keep the Wuhan people out of their city because
Mm-hmm.
they didn't have it yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they definitely don't want to be infected. Now, here's the other thing that we're seeing, and this is another reason that we have such an issue going on with the globalist in our country. And folks, if you've ever been on any of these, and you've heard me before, I am a rarity. I am a rarity because I'm a normie. So I'm speaking a very specific language here. There's white hat, black hat, red hat, and blue hat. You folks, I'm talking to you in particular because here's what's going to happen. They do not want our manufacturing to come home. They can't have it. Our
Right.
politicians, our politicians since the 60s and the 50s have sold our manufacturing base off to the Chinese and have, if you've ever watched the movie Robin Hood with Kevin Costner, you know, they have the big fight scene at the end and the, you know, cardinal from the church or whoever the hell he was in there scooping up the gold and everything. And the one priest went in there and said, "Where are you going?" He said, "Well, I'm getting out of town." And, you know, he pushes him out of the treehouse and tells him, "Yeah, well, now you can take your gold, Judas, and go to hell with it." So that's basically what is happening here because they have sold us out lock, stock, and freaking barrel each and every time. There's nothing more that makes me want to vomit when I pick up something that says made in China. It makes me want to revolt. It generates such an anger inside of me that sometimes I have to bite my tongue. I've got a hole gauged in my tongue from it. But one of the things that is coming out now is, of course, we have Gavin Newsom and we have Cuomo, Governor Cuomo in the state of New York. They are complaining that they're not prepared. They're complaining that they don't have enough stuff. These are two states, and I had an uncle that used to live in California, and back in the 80s when I was in the Navy, you know, he looked at me and he told me, he said, "This state's going broke. It isn't broke already. It's going to be broke within the next year because the Newsoms and the Browns are selling it out lock, stock, to the Mexican government. And they're
Yep.
taking all their trash that they can't work with, the people, the malcontents that won't do anything for them there the way that they want them to do it. Well, now China is flooding Europe with defective medical equipment.
Well,
Why?
they were sending it to us too. Here's the funny part.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, they turned those ships around, and everybody was like, "Oh, they turned their ships around because they were sending us equipment and they needed it." Right? That was the big news story. No, it was because they knew
Yeah.
once it hit the port of Los Angeles or whatever port it hit, customs would be going through it with a fine tooth comb, and they would find it to be defective. It's not just customs. People
Mm-hmm.
always forget. There's CDC. There's a whole bunch of different things that happen on the border, and you have all
Mm-hmm.
kinds of people looking at the food from, you know, Food and Drug Administration. You have people from uh, wildlife, whatever it is. Can't think of that federal agency
Yeah.
right now. Something in wildlife. Fish. Nah, it's not fish and wild.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Yeah.
it,
Fishing game. Fishing
yeah,
game.
fish and game. Yeah,
Wildlife.
and they have people from like doctors associations, and that shit gets looked at,
Uh-huh.
and that would have given the alert to Europe that the shit China sent
Mhm.
them was shit, and that's why they pulled back on us. They knew Europe would be like, fuck this stuff. We're having this problem. We're going to offload it real quick. They didn't look at it.
Right.
So that's a reality, man.
Well, that's why the Defense Production Act has been effectively in gear. 3M got caught exporting masks that we needed here. Go out today and try to find a mask somewhere and tell me what you find. You won't even find a freaking Dana anywhere at this point because we were just out today looking for them. So, there's, I think the Defense Production Act, I think it's past time that they made the automakers, because guys, I'm here to tell you something. We never would have made it through the Second World War if the production lines from the auto manufacturers had not switched over and stopped making trucks. They made some trucks, they had to, because the military needed them, so they could go, so our guys and gals could function overseas. And it's been a long time thing. So don't be confused that this is just a novel thing that's taking place. It's always happened like that.
It's not just vehicles, though. I mean, I remember going through one of my courses. I think the M1 carbine that I used in one of my courses was made by Singer sewing machine. And I remember the M1 Garand that I used during this course was made by Fisher Guide. Well, Fisher Guide is GM. So a lot, and that was from Columbus, Ohio. Fisher Guide was, if you remember where it was at. And
on the side of there's now a casino that sits there.
That sits right where it used to be. And that's the whole thing, is that this stuff is not an abnormality, but it is a War Powers Act. It is something that, and that's why I said, Trump did that with the stroke of a pen. That's his presidential privilege.
Right.
This is why they're running scared, and Pelosi and them are still trying to undercut him. But they're also quieting down a little bit. They're not as public with it, except for on their own little propaganda channels like MSNBC, CNN, and what's that other flipping garbage channel? I can't even remember. I don't care.
Sure, it's this news network. That's all.
But yeah, the mainstream media pretty much, except for Fox. But what I'm saying is, my point is that they know that if Trump strikes that pen, martial law, and he can do that at any time, especially now, I don't think he will, for reasons. I just do not believe he will do it. Unless we got like a third of the nation dying from this shit. But at that point, we're screwed anyways. And
well, he isn't going. Well, the reason that he isn't going to do it is because in order for it to go into effect, it's going to take longer than what we've had for the stay-at-home orders to become effective, and to flatten the curve, so to speak. So he isn't insensitive, and he's not uneducated to it. He knows that if he throws it in, it's going to take a long time to kick in, and then he knows that it's going to be so absolutely detrimental. We'll be lucky to recover by first quarter of 2021. So he doesn't want to do it. He does probably want to do it in some respects, because then he can go ahead and he could pick up all the pedophiles that are in the Congress and the Senate and all the traitors. Who was it? The one IG that he just fired that went ahead and mischaracterized the phone call and got rid of him. That was met with a low roar that lasted for about 30 seconds. So we'll have to wait and see. Also, remember this. There's been at least 21,000 people die in China. Our cell phones are such a barometer of how life works on the entire globe. People don't even realize it. That's why there's been such a fight about the total of people who have died in China, because they had 21,000 cell phone contracts be canceled. Trust me, they like their phones as much as we like our phones. I'm ready to go to a flip phone. I'm kind of really done with this garbage. But I can tell you that 21,000 people just didn't walk in and say, hey, shut off my smartphone. It didn't happen. It doesn't work like that. And they are as much about having their electronics and their games and their things as much as what we are here. So that is a common denominator that makes our societies peer-to-peer, literally, in that aspect. The government, different story. But as far as the things that you'd like to have and the things that you'd like to do, they're very much like us, guys.
Yeah, but their middle class has been killed off by this virus. And I mean that. I mean that, and that's what they're going to do with us. And that's why Trump said we got to get back to work as quickly as possible. I mean, you now have a world crisis, and it's not just the virus; it's economics, and the engine of economics is commerce, and commerce ain't happening, folks. And I was hoping that everything would be opened up by the 13th. Now they're saying that end of this month up to the beginning of next month or the middle. That's ridiculous, and I don't know if we can bounce back from that. I've said it in that thing that I put out, and I do believe this. If we don't restart the economy soon, we may not ever be able to get that engine fired up.
We'll be able to get it fired back up, because here is what is going. This is what will happen.
We can only get it fired up if we don't get into a global depression, brah. And the only way to fire it up in a global depression is a world war. It's repeated numerous times.
Right. Well, this is what this has to do with the way that the presidential elections are going. This is the flip to it, and it's something very many people will talk about. And that is a lot of what's going on with this, is that people don't realize a lot of this is in response to the presidential elections aren't working in the favor of the globalists, the liberals,
I agree on that. I agree. So
they have to try to do something to derail it. I am a public elections official. I am telling you now, they know nothing as to how they're going to go ahead and pull this off without killing off half the population. I don't think they're going to kill off half of the population. There's no reason that our agency should ever be begging and asking for citizens and businesses to turn over supplies. That is absolutely just riles me to no end, that they have the audacity to go ahead and ask for this stuff. And they don't go ahead and very simply reorder their own supplies. It's like having a gallon of milk that you empty and never replacing. And then when you run out, you run to your neighbor and you say, oh shit, I'm stupid. I didn't replace this. You have to give me your milk. This is in essence what they are doing. And it's so absolutely despicable.
I agree with you. My point is not just the milk thing. You start looking at this in these states and cities, especially the major cities. They get granted X amount of dollars to do stuff. This is nothing more than what happened to George Bush under in Louisiana when New Orleans got flooded. They had been given money to put into the levees for decades, and they failed to keep up the levees. It would have been fine if they would have. And then those weak levees breached. That is what happened in New Orleans. Statement of fact. Everybody who's researched it knows this. But that was the hammer.
You remember what but do you remember what they did with the money?
Yeah, they wasted it on different shit.
They wasted it on their casinos. They wasted them on aquariums. They wasted it on stuff that didn't matter. We had people. We have had people. It's just like not De Blasio. De Blasio is actually starting to wake up. I think you could see his campaign possibly be rejuvenated. I'm not sure that it would happen, but he's beginning to be a responsible portion of the equation. I'm not saying that he's going to be totally responsible, but he's responsible to a point. But everyone's, trying to say, oh, well, Cuomo's, going to make a run because, well, Bernie's supporters got locked out of the process, and that's an entirely different show to talk about. I'm not even going to touch that and enter into it here while we're here doing this today, because, again, Bernie Sanders got his lunch money taken. They beat him up. They took his lunch money, and they're laughing at him. But the problem is that where they fail to understand where they went wrong is they are drastically underestimating the support that the president really has real time. I always like how they like to scream and kick and piss and moan about, well, the polls say this and the polls say that. Remember, the polls said Hillary Clinton had the man 4-1. and she didn't have him forward one. She got her shit trounced.
Well,
And
the polls can be cooked. You and I both know that. And
right.
the only polls that started to tell the truth was the evening of the election, and you can see it in all the different MSM sites as they were like seeing the outgoing polls. People had just voted, and they're realizing the numbers aren't matching. The numbers aren't matching. Don't get this. Don't understand it. And you know, the Hildebeest, she keeps throwing her hat in. And I think there was an article, I believe it was from Salon. It might have been the Atlantic. I can't remember which one. But I remember them saying, Joe Biden, just keep breathing. That's what they actually said. Because now he's seriously looking at his running mate. I'm thinking I know who his running mate's going to be.
Oh, yeah. Well, and that would be the worst possible thing that they could do. Because here's what's going to happen. POTUS is going to go ahead and package this as we will not do Obama 3.0. This is a nice try. We had 1.0, you tried 2.0 with Hillary, you're not going to bring back 3.0. Of all the people that are so detested, you go talk to an Antifa protester and ask them what they think of the Democrat establishment as a whole, and they hate them. They hate them with a passion. Well, they would burn the whole block down if they could get Hillary, if they could get away with it.
They hate anybody who's, and you know, they're nothing more, and you have it on the right too. You have people that are they're anarchists, but what they want to do is they want to burn it all down and think that they can replace it. But in the end, you know, they don't have, most of them when you meet them, they have the intelligence of a grapefruit. Yeah, they may be tech savvy, but they've never actually had to deal with real economics, never had to make a paycheck, have never run anything, and as a substantial running of something of import. These are just facts.
Right.
And they haven't done that.
Right. Well, that's because they still live in mommy and daddy's basement. Because when we were coming up, and, you know, there's a, 7-8 years difference between the two of us. If any of our friends had told us that they were still living at home, I would have been like, yeah, dude, you need to go home to mommy. That's what you need to do. And now it's an acceptable thing. Well, oh my God, you don't understand. The world's so difficult for kids. If you go out and you get a job and you work and you don't depend on a minimum wage job, or you go to a minimum wage job and you apply yourself and you get a promotion, guess what? It's no longer minimum wage. There are jobs to be had out here. The problem is that we have such a complacent, lazy, and I understand it basically carries the same meaning, but there's a difference between complacent and being lazy. Complacent, you accept it. Lazy, you don't give a shit. And the give a shit factor has to turn around in our society in order for things to work correctly. I know this is a lot, and we're pushing a lot at you folks, and we're really making you think. And you can go back and listen to this again as often as what you would like to do. Hell, I haven't done a radio show in so freaking long. It's like this is just all kind of like done up. But
I know, but you're right about complacency. I'm more worried because of the state of panic. Just like I said earlier, panic is making people complacent. I mean, I still go out every night and barbecue on my damn grill. I'm not going to not go outside. The shit doesn't float around in the air, you know, and that's just a fact. And yeah, it's a pandemic, you know, all this stuff. I don't believe in the whole 5G conspiracy to it and all that other weird shit, but I do believe it's a real thing with purpose. And I think that purpose was done to make Americans more Asian. And what I mean by that, you were exactly right. Asians, and when you say Asians, it's the continent of Asia, which includes all of the Near East. That's why you have the Far and the Near East. And the only buffer from that is once you get up into Russia, the Rodina, and then into Europe. So that's how big the Asiatics world is. And they all have the same thing. And the easiest way to spot the terrorist in a group of Muslims, or not just Arabs, let me be
Mm-hmm.
more on track, was you put everybody in there. You don't even have to put barbed wire around them, concertina wire. You can just tell them, put a little bunch of string and say, wait here, sit here, and they'll sit there after you take their weapons or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
They'll all sit there and group up. The
Mm-hmm.
one that's pushing back, he's been trained in the West.
Mm-hmm.
He's a Wahhabist or a Salafist. And
Mm-hmm.
it's the easiest way to separate out who's, if they start moving away from the group, unless they're going to
Mm-hmm.
go take a piss or a shit, you already
Mm-hmm.
know who he is and what he's doing. And I'm telling you, it's their culture. And so
Right.
this makes us complacent to follow rules, nonsense rules. I'm not saying
Right.
nonsense. I'm not saying nonsense as they're not effective. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
Don't get me twisted. But like I heard tell, my wife was worried. Me and her were going to the grocery store, that they wouldn't let us go in together because we would have to be 6 feet apart. And I told her, goddamn right, you get 6 feet behind me, just like a good Muslim woman would, making that joke. But she didn't understand that. And we joked
Right.
around about it. She did understand it. But the point is, it's just silliness. And
Right.
but you've already got a sense of complacency being built up in Americans'
Right.
minds that should not be there. It's abnormal for us to think this way.
Right. Right. Well, man, it's been the ticker says an hour and 9 minutes, and we were only supposed to do 20 minutes. We knew we were set up to fail from jump on this because this is the phone calls that we have 9 times out of 10. And this is my total day off. I don't do anything. I don't even go to my day job. I don't even my my DoorDash garbage at night. Um, but we are going to do this again, and we're going to do it much sooner than later. Now, I am looking at an article that popped up here, and Greg Abbott, the governor of the great state of Texas, has declared religious services as an essential function of their society down there. I don't see Mike DeWine bucking his master and doing that. But I believe that I believe everything is definitely going to deliver. So Ohio plans random population testing to determine how many people have coronavirus. Stay away from me. You can't even begin to sell that stuff. There's no freaking way. Remember, I was there. I was done that. My brother here is done, and we already know what those guys are up to when they want us to go ahead and come and see them or come and talk to them about something, or we'll just do this, do that. I'm like, you'll just stay all the way over there and away from me, and I'm not playing the game. So it is definitely working really hard at it. The problem is, though, is that the business people across the globe are now going to begin to push back. And this is going to put the Rothschilds to the test now, because they're going to push back and they're going to say, you can't do this anymore. When you go to the Johns Hopkins University website and everything, you can see, things are starting to settle down. If you go and you look at the curves that are on there, they are beginning to flatten out. If you go and you look particularly at the state of Ohio, at the COVID site, you can see that the counties are starting to flatten out. I don't believe that they're going to be able to get away very much longer with this routine that the sky is falling, because it's going to fail. It's going to stop. It's not going to be the case. What was it you and I were talking? They were talking about the hospitals being so packed and built up, and you go out and you take a look, and there's nothing there.
Right. The next day, people show up.
Wonderful.
Yeah, the next day, and it's on YouTube. So, I mean, this is, and that can be anecdotal, because let's say these pictures were taken in the evening, where, CNN or whoever is right there in front of it, right? And then the
Mm-hmm.
next day somebody shows up early in the morning, but still it's not that night. There's nobody in the hallway, so maybe this might be a big plot hole, or it may
Mm-hmm.
be a clue. We'll have to figure out which one. But the whole thing is, my plot armor isn't that strong when I start thinking, okay, so your waiting rooms are empty in these videos the next day. Your tents are empty. There's no big long lines. So wait, let me guess. At night is when the COVID strikes? You know, is this like Passover?
Mm-hmm.
You know, do we have to paint crosses on our doors? You know, it's just a lot of mumbo jumbo BS. So,
Oh yeah.
but I'm not denying it.
Right. I'm not saying that stuff is going wrong and people aren't dying. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying, and many other people are saying, it's not on the scale. It's below the R value. I'm going to tell you that I probably think it's between 0.75 and 1.2. I don't even think it's reaching a full 2%.
I agree
By the
with
way,
you.
we discussed, yeah, and earlier I said something about the Inspector General being fired by President Trump, and that was Inspector General Atkinson. And of course, Nancy Pelosi is all bent out of shape because that means that they lose one of their little rats in there to cause his stuff. And you know, he is what the National Security Council, he stripped it from 300 to 100 people, and they're trying to say, oh well you can't run it like that.
It shouldn't even be that big. It got that big over decades. Bush Jr.
Right.
is when it really started to grow, and Clinton didn't even grow it that big. And the
Right.
NSC slowly grew out of, instead of just having national security advisors and a council of them, oh no, now the NSC has blossomed into schmees and schmooze, subject matter experts, and you know, they've
Right.
got these people in there that will come in there, and they all have usually very leftist beliefs because they're published, usually doctorates in something, and a specialist in, let's say, Russia, or let's say Belarus, or Ukraine. It could be whatever, but they specialize in one thing, and you know, so it's retarded. You can get somebody that has a general worldview that pretty much is similar to yours, and that's who you need to rely on. If it's something very specific, that's why you're supposed to have CIA, DIA, different agencies, and you know, for intelligence, you got your NRO, National Reconnaissance Office, and you have your daggone ELINT stuff. It's what's it? Why I always shit. It's the ELINT, electronic intelligence. You're talking about like NSA level shit.
Right.
And you find out what exactly you need in that country, and you can find it in one of those agencies. You don't need, you know, and have that person brief you. And if you don't agree with his briefing, get another person to come in and brief you, because they don't just use one.
Oh, I know one of the people that does the briefings, for the daily briefings for the military, and he often goes in there and he gives them a lot. Happened a lot of times during the Obama years. You know, he'd go in and give them that information, and then all of a sudden it would be, oh no, well we don't want to hear from him because he isn't telling us what we want to hear. So they inherently, it's a fallacy of the way life works. If you don't get what you want from, it's just like a spoiled kid, you know, not getting what they get from one parent but going to the other. So it's basically what they really do, because they have to be able to craft and mold that policy to the worldview that they want in order to do the things that they want. I believe that we're going to see things really heat up in the South China Seas. What's going on with the Teddy Roosevelt, that still has to flesh out as to why they thought going to Vietnam was such a grand idea.
It's all about nation building. And we need to stop that shit. It costs us
Oh yeah.
too much money, and it cost us too many lives. So our national treasure is more than just money. It's our lives of our youth. And,
Right.
I hold that dear. But yeah, like you said, man, this has gone on a good long time. I think the people have gotten a good show so far, and we'll give them pigs a little more later. This will not be the last time that you hear me and Dano. And when I say pigs, it's, little piggies, 3 little piggies, so it's not like I'm
Yeah.
slamming people
Yeah.
in my audience. Uh, but the point is, hopefully you've had a good time. This is just like
Right.
when I'm with Baz and Kate, or when I'm doing
Right.
any other show. I only bring on people I trust. And, that's even burned me one time. I think he appeared in 2 of my shows.
Yeah.
Everybody probably knows who that idiot was. So, anywho, thank you guys for stopping by Kaiser's Castle. I'll slowly roll the drawbridge up as you
Alrighty.
finish your coffee, tea, soda, and adult libation. That being said, Shuff and Dano out.